This episode of the D-Lew podcast is brought to you by Happy Wrap. You ever wanted to design your very own gift wrapping paper? Now is your chance to do so. Whether it's for the holiday season, weddings, anniversaries, birthdays, no matter what the occasion calls for, you can use Happy Wrap to wrap your gifts. As a matter of fact, you can even design notebooks, greeting cards, gift tags, and so much more. You can sign up today at happy.thedlewpodcast.com and use the promo code DLEW to get your 10% discount at checkout. Again, that's happy.thedlewpodcast.com and use promo code DLEW to get your 10% discount at checkout. By Simpler Hair Color. Hey guys, are you tired of using that drugstore hair dye brand that isn't getting the job done? If you want to use a great product to cover those grays, have no fear, Simpler Hair Color is here. No mixing, no dripping, no mess. It's super easy to use, whether you're a beginner or a pro. Go to simpler.thedlewpodcast.com and use promo code DLEW10 for your 10% discount at checkout. Again, that's simpler.thedlewpodcast.com and use my promo code DLEW10 for your 10% discount at checkout. And by WWE Shop with Fanatics. Get your favorite WWE superstars merchandise and wear them proud with superstars like the OTC Roman Reigns, Rhea Ripley, the Second City Saint CM Punk, John Cena, Main Event Jey Uso, the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, and so many more. Oh, by the way, they got some really cool championship belts in there as well. So go to wrestling.thedlewpodcast.com. Again, that's wrestling.thedlewpodcast.com so you can go to WWE Shop with Fanatics. This podcast is a Believe Network and Siete production. Welcome to another edition of the D-Lew podcast powered by Believe Network. I'm your host, Derrick T. Lewis, and off the heels of an incredible WrestleMania 41 weekend, the matriarch of the D-Lew podcast, Gabi, is back, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to break down the entire weekend, some news that happened over WrestleMania weekend as well, and let's not wait any longer. The WrestleMania recap with me and Gabi starts right now. Well, she is back, ladies and gentlemen, gracing us with her presence. She is the matriarch of the D-Lew podcast that makes this whole thing go. She's the one and only Gabi. She's back from Vegas. Gabi, how are you?
I'm exhausted. I haven't even been home 12 hours yet, but here we are, right? For the love of the business, here we are.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that for sure. And let me just say, she got out there last Wednesday. I gave her, I told her, she had the family out there. So you know what? Have fun with your family. I'll hold down the fort here. Shout out to Krista B for stepping in for Gabi. I appreciate that. Krista B had a blast out there too. I'll definitely speak with her in a little while. But I want to talk about if you can just give us a few moments to talk about your Vegas experience, going to some of the autograph signings between WWE World and WrestleCon and all those things, and of course going to WrestleMania. So talk about that experience for a little bit.
For sure. I see why Vegas is that city that you can only spend a few days in and you have to
Right,
leave. Like it was fun, but it was a lot.
right,
I
right.
definitely had a good time. WWE World was literally insane.
Yeah,
The experiences they had there from the tops, from the merch, like the older like history of wrestling things. They had a tattoo shop in there. They had the superstore. They had
hmm
the meet and greet experiences as well. I finally got to meet the Queen, Charlotte Flair. Y'all know I love me some Charlotte.
awesome.
Got her to sign my jacket that I made. I got to meet Nia Jax. My son met with Bianca. My husband met Jade. It was definitely insane. WrestleCon also was great. WrestleCon, I got to meet more of the legends, right? We met Jackie. I met Mickey James. It was just a great experience overall, 10 out of 10. We'll get to the or I have thoughts about that, but like overall, it was definitely a good long few days. The one thing I will say though with WWE World, if you have not been, I got overstimulated. So I was there, I got there at like maybe 10-ish,
Hmm.
and I had to go sit outside after after my Charlotte autograph. Like I just had to go sit outside and get fresh air because it's just a lot going on.
Yeah, it is.
It's just the noises, everything happening in the world. So like I had to step out for like 30 minutes, and obviously I was able to come back, everything was fine. But
Right.
like make sure that you take care of yourself in these situations, because I was like, guys, I can't do this right now. Like it's I gotta walk away. Um
Right.
so when you're in situations, don't forget to take care of you. Like, yes, content is great and you want to do all the things, but like make sure that when you're doing these things that you're also taking care of yourself and you recognize when to walk away and when to go get some water and hit a lap around the building and come back in. So definitely very important that I want to like hit home with everyone. Like take care of yourself when you're in situations too.
Yeah, man. And like I said, Gabby was, just kind of keeping me updated with the latest and the greatest, while she was in Vegas. And I've known, since I've known Gabby 2 years, this is actually the 2 year anniversary that Gabby and I met on that incredible Monday morning at LAX, traveling back from WrestleMania
4 a.m.
39. And just telling me all the things that was going on in pictures with the legends, of course, Charlotte Flair, the list goes on and on. So I'm glad and the family had an incredible time out in Vegas, got to experience WrestleMania. But before we get into WrestleMania itself, as we're recording on a Tuesday, I want to read a press conference from WWE and TKO, and here it goes. WWE, part of TKO Group Holdings, today announced that WrestleMania 41, which emanated from Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, became the most successful and highest grossing event in company history. Highlights include the gate. WrestleMania 41 generated the largest gate for any event in WWE history. The premium live event drew 124,693 fans across 2 nights at Allegiant Stadium. The viewership. WrestleMania 41 was the most viewed WrestleMania of all time, up 114% from the record set last year at WrestleMania 40. Merchandise. In partnership with Fanatics, merchandise sales on site were up more than 45% versus the previous all-time set record set by WrestleMania 40 in 2024, making WrestleMania 41 the highest grossing event of all time. Additionally, e-commerce sales were up 86% versus last year's record. WrestleMania 41 featured a record 28 total partners and set an all-time event record for venue. On location, on location, the exclusive hospitality experiences for partner for WWE saw a 75% increase in hospitality sales and packages. WWE World at WrestleMania 41, the 5-day interactive fan experience in partnership with Fanatics events, became the most attended WWE fan convention of all time with more than 50,000 attendees, a 21% increase over last year's event surrounding WrestleMania 40. And of course, with social media, WrestleMania became the most socially viewed WWE event of all time, generating 1 billion social views throughout the weekend. Additionally, WWE's YouTube channel saw its most viewed day ever on WrestleMania Sunday. The record breaking event was highlighted by John Cena defeating Cody Rhodes for the Undisputed WWE Championship, Seth Rollins winning the triple threat match featuring Roman Reigns and CM Punk, Io Sky retaining the Women's World Championship, and the return of Becky Lynch and more. So that was a huge tout from WWE and TKO groupings this morning, talking about the success of WrestleMania 41. Your thoughts on that?
I believe it. I we talked about this last week. The reason why it grows so much is because they jack the prices up for everything.
They did.
So like let's be honest on that, right? Like the stadium was definitely not SoFi. I mean, you went to SoFi. SoFi is huge.
No, 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 not at all.
It's a great stadium, but it's not SoFi.
It's a little
Um,
smaller.
I also want to point out that each night they sold out, but they were two different numbers. Confused about that. Um, And like I said, the prices for everything were insane. I mean, my tickets that I paid for, and I was in section 132 in the risers. So like there was a floor level. There's like a section above floor where there are risers. I was in there. Saw you guys the pictures. I could see the ring. I could see the action without having to watch the Jumbotron. For what I paid for those for my family, we were in a suite in SoFi.
Hmm.
Prices are insane. The meet and greet prices were insane. John Cena's meet and greet was $400. Cody, a picture with Cody was 200, autograph was 200.
Hmm.
For my Charlotte experience, probably close to 260, 250-ish. Um, I think that needs to be taken into consideration as well. I think that they possibly may have kind of priced out some of the fans um this time, or hopefully like they get better with it. I think TKO has made a great product, but they haven't nailed down the experience yet. I mean, WWE Worlds, I love it,
Hmm.
but to get in for the day was $70 a person. My 3-year-old, I had to pay $30 for. He's 3.
Hmm.
He's 3. He didn't. He would have had the same time with a beach
Right.
ball in the living room than he would have had WWE World because he's 3 and I still had to pay all that money for him to get in. So I can appreciate the numbers, but like you have to kind of put that realistic spin on things as well. Like the prices were insane. Crazy. I mean, I paid $75 when I had to park. I paid 150 to park my car. So like when you take into consideration those things, I would hope you would have one of the better gates. I would hope that you would like break these records, right?
Right. You would hope. Yeah, I mean, I remember, obviously 2 years ago when I was at Mania in regards to just the pricing, but I was covering it. But then last
Right.
year I bought a ticket, and of course I went to WWE World last year, and all those things, and then the parking, and the this and the that. So it's a lot of things considering, you know what I mean? So this is
Mhm.
truly like a vacation in a sense. You have to treat it as that because man, if you're gonna go all in, go all the
And that was
way.
our thing, right? If I'm gonna go to an event, I'm gonna go to an event. We're gonna get
Right.
like the floor seats. We're gonna go to WWE where we're gonna meet the greats. Sorry, guys, I'm drinking tea because my voice is shot from screaming. We'll get there later. But you know what I mean? Like if you're going to go, you're going to go. We got there Wednesday and we left yesterday morning. I was back home in time to watch Raw. I would say that maybe next year I will go a day later and then be there for Raw because I kind of want to see that. But yeah, I mean, if you're gonna go, go, but save your money if you're gonna go. Because
Indeed.
I mean, Vegas is an expensive city. I mean, for me to get dinner every night for my family was ridiculous. Again, I wouldn't trade it. I'm glad I did it. It's an experience for sure, but like, we'll see. Maybe it's
Yeah.
like an every other year type thing. We'll see if we'll go to New Orleans next year, but we'll see.
Let's see, definitely. One more piece of news, one more piece of business before we get started with the event itself. Before night two, it was announced that WWE has acquired the Mexican promotion Triple A. I'm not going to read the press release about it, but when you got wind of that, what were your thoughts immediately when you thought about that?
Insane. Insane. I will say that TKO was handling partnerships very well. They handled the TNA, which we'll get to shortly. They've handled that very well. I will say that they're doing a better job with it than their counterparts AEW is doing with these partnerships. We all know that the TNA partnership was a wet fart. And I think we all can confirm that the NJPW partnership was basically just a feeder because they took all of their talent. So hopefully this goes well. I don't see why it wouldn't. I heard they were rebranding it possibly as NXT Mexico, which I think is kind of weird because they have their own history and their own things. I think that you can acquire a company without having to destroy it, and I think the WWE would do justice. The only thing that I think is kind of weird is they had like Bradshaw show up to be like the commissioner or whatever, and he made some comment about Alberto Del Rio, and like they need to leave him wherever the heck he's at. So
Yeah.
whatever rock he's hiding under right now, he needs to stay there. Um, but otherwise, I'm looking forward to it.
That was the first thing that crossed my mind. I'm like, wait a minute, he is their champion right now, and how is that going to work? I guess we
Leave
shall all
him where
find
he is.
out. Right, but also right, and they do have an event coming up on June 7th in Los Angeles.
Hmm.
Worlds Collide, NXT and AAA, the same day as Money in the Bank. It's going to be at the Intuit Dome. Money in the Bank is, but early in the day it's going to be at the Forum,
Yeah,
the
it's like
Kia
a three
Forum.
o'clock, 7 o'clock start time.
Yeah, so you're gonna
Yeah,
have full day of professional wrestling in two different venues, basically in the same radius, because they're not going to tear down the Forum. The Forum is going to be there where the Lakers used to play many years ago, and of
yeah.
course the Intuit Dome, where the Clippers and where the Clippers play. So we shall see. As far as that, as far as when that time does come, I'm looking forward to it. But we're gonna get right into night one of WrestleMania. I love the opening where they had the DJ. I forgot the name of the video game, but they had the dancers and everything. And all of a sudden, Jey Uso's music hits, and you see the big, gigantic yeet flags by carrying by people going down the ramp. And I'm just like, oh, like you would at a football game. I'm like, okay, here we go. That was the perfect way to start off the event, I felt, with his energy, his excitement. You were in that vicinity where he actually came out, which I thought was awesome that you got to experience that. Um, he was facing Gunther, for the World Heavyweight Championship. They got 16 minutes and 30 seconds in. Talk about that match, from you being there live, and what was the vibe? What was the vibe like?
Everyone went insane for Jey Uso, as Derrick just mentioned. He came down my aisle. So like I said, I was close to the floor, and my friend was a little higher up, and she texted me, and she's like, "Jay is coming down our aisle," and I was like, "What?" So I'm short, guys. I'm 5'1" on a good day, right? But my husband and my son are both like 6'3", 6'4". So I got on my chair because I'm short and I can't see. And I stood up and looked, and sure enough, Jey Uso was right there. So I was
Uh,
able to kind of feel that energy and that greatness with his entrance. The entire crowd was going for Jey Uso. Like there was not a lot of like Gunther in my area for sure. And you could
mhm.
tell like I don't even remember Gunther's entrance. I honestly couldn't tell you how he came in. I don't know. I didn't look at it. I was still on like we were all still on the high of Jey Uso, and like we were all
Right.
still yeeting and all the things. It was a great match. I had a feeling that Jay was going over because why would you start Mania on a low? So that kind of gave it to me, and I was like, great, this is great. When the match was over with, Jay came back up our side, so I got to see Jay like twice, like right there. That was pretty cool. It was a great match. It was a great way to open. Bully Ray, shout out to him and Busted Open, always said you either want to start the party or you want to end it. Being in the middle is cool, but like if you have a choice, start it or end it as far as matches and like pay-per-views go, or PLEs, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think it was a great way to start it and worth it. Great.
Yeah, the finish was a little bit shocking. I was like, he made a tap,
Oh,
which I was like, whoa! I did not see that finish coming at all. But that's what I love. You don't have to give
mhm.
me your signature finish. You can also beat a person in different ways. So I felt like that was the best way to start off WrestleMania, and Jey Uso did become the new World Heavyweight Champion. He had the pyro going. His brother was there to greet him in the ring, which I thought was cool. Nice moment for them. Huge shout out to the Anoa'i Fatu family, man, because they had an incredible night, and we'll get to that in a little bit later. Next match, for the World Tag Team Championships, we had the New Day. Thank God for the New Day. And they challenged the War Raiders for the World Tag Team Championships. That match went 9 minutes, 15 seconds. It did what it had to do.
Didn't watch it.
Oh, you didn't watch it? Oh, well, I'll be honest
So,
with
I
you.
mean,
Go
I
ahead.
watched it, but I didn't watch it like in real time.
Right.
Um, Honestly, that was the match that half of the arena emptied out on. That was time for a run to the concession stands and like do the store. I remember I watched the match, but I wasn't watching the match. Like I was there for it. I didn't leave my area. I just half watched the match. And I know that it was weird. I don't know how it came across on TV. But it was weird. Like the War Raiders tried to get their chant going, and the crowd didn't know what was happening. It was just very much like it happened. I don't want to say it filled the spot, but it filled the spot. But also, it could have been the Street Profits time.
Also, too, I think when you have a mixture of a lot of casuals that don't necessarily watch the product, you're going to run into
Because
those
we were
situations
priced
a lot.
out.
Right. You're going to get a lot of casuals in there. So for me, I looked at it from a perspective, okay, this is a match, okay, to your point, and I mean, again, I like all four of these guys first and foremost, but I tell you right now, when I was at AEW last month, early this month rather, when Bandito and Jericho were about to wrestle, everybody went to the concessions and went to the bathroom.
It was time.
Right, it was time. But nonetheless, the New Day did win the World Tag Team Championships, and what I loved is that they they won the match and they ran ran
Yep.
up. That reminded me of when Orton was with Legacy and he won the title and he was like, let's go," and they just hightailed it out of there.
Mhm.
But we'll tie a bow on that match. The next match, I think the whole world was looking very much forward to. That was Jay Cargill going up against Naomi. First and foremost, I love Naomi's new theme. I love her gear. I love the way they had the caution, the big caution tape, in the aisle, in the walkway there, and she
Hmm.
busts through it, and it said, third wheel, two nights, all these things on the caution tape, which I thought was awesome. Then Jay Cargill, I think it was the guy from the Weather Channel.
Yep.
He was doing the weather report, and I thought that was real. It was a really nice touch. Surprising. I was very, very shocked how good this match was. I'm not diminishing either woman, but being that this was Naomi, I mean, not Naomi, but this is Jay Cargill's first singles match at WrestleMania,
Yep.
and Naomi's now in the role of a heel. I was just wondering how this was all going to work, and they got 9 minutes and 20 seconds out of it. The spot of the match for me was Naomi was trying to go for a high cross body off the top rope, and Jay Cargill catches her in a suplex position and hits a jackhammer. I'm like, oh my god, unbelievable,
It,
unbelievable.
it was a great match. I can appreciate Jade going over. I will say that Jade beat those allegations that she can't wrestle and that she was on vacation for 4 months. I think she beat those allegations. Like she had a really good match. Like I was honestly shocked.
Yeah,
Disclosure. I'm not knocking Jade. I think she's a work hard, but we all know that her time in AEW was, as far as like actual wrestling, was very limited. She had a lot of squash matches. So like I am very happy for her. It was great. We met Naomi the next day at WWE World, and she made a comment about like how she was sore from her match last night and she was tired and all the things. But yeah, no, it was a great match. I think that hopefully this puts a bow on that feud, and then maybe other feuds will spark from this. And I'll just leave it at that.
yeah, we'll see. But then again, we never know what they have planned. Obviously, we'll get to this later. But what we saw on Raw was just like, whoa, we didn't expect all of these other things happening. So we'll see. The next match was for the United States Championship. LA Knight defended against Jacob Fatu. First and foremost, I loved LA Knight's entrance when he pulled up in the Maserati, and it was a simple touch. He just rolled down the window. LA Knight. His theme song start playing, which by the way, that is my ringtone, ladies and gentlemen. So I am a huge, huge fan of LA Knight and a fan of Jacob Fatu as well. To me, this was out of the entire weekend, in my opinion, this was the second or third best match on the entire card.
Agreed. This match shouldn't have any business being as good as it was.
And I mean, for anybody that was saying, "Oh, LA Knight is this," or you know what I mean, kind of souring on him, I'm like, "Yo, the guy can work. He's been in the business over 20 years, busting his hump, and now he's in there." And kudos to Jacob Fatu, man. Me and Kristen was talking about this last week. Just his story getting there. The match aside, just Jacob's his journey through life,
His
getting to
back.
where he is now, man. It's just like I can't help but root for this guy. That's why
Absolutely.
I feel like he's going to be one of the biggest baby faces that company's ever seen. Once they delve in to his story, when they're doing weeks and weeks of vignettes of him sitting down, doing sit downs,
Hmm.
similar how in '97 what they did with Mankind when he became a babyface and he did those vignettes with Jim Ross. And
Hmm.
he was talking about the real life Mick Foley, how he wasn't accepted and all those other things. Same thing I feel can happen with Jacob Fatu. But the
Agreed.
match was incredible. And of course, Jacob Fatu hit those three incredible moonsaults to pin LA Knight 1, 2, 3 to become the brand new United States champion. The funny part was seeing Haku congratulate him at
Yeah,
ringside, and everyone was saying, "Oh, security didn't stop him." I'm like, can you blame
that's
him?
yeah. But again, that goes into you priced out the real fans. Once again, another point that you know what I mean? Like we keep hitting that point. People don't know who people are anymore.
Right, and also too, like the stories about Haku are legendary. How him being the absolute toughest man in wrestling ever. Even now, at 70 something years old, I wouldn't even try him. Not at
Yeah.
all. But it was a nice touch, him being part of the family and greeting Jacob at the end.
Mhm.
The next match, again, I hate the gimmick, but the match was effing good. And by the way, it was El Grande Americano going up against Ray Phoenix, who filled in for the injured Rey Mysterio, who I felt horrible for, who
Yeah.
got injured at SmackDown the night before, which I'm just like, why would you put him in a match? It was because you figure he was having a high profile match against El Grande Americano,
Right.
and I wouldn't have put him in a match. Not like no, no, I wouldn't have done that. I think that SmackDown should have been reserved for promos and promos only. For those that are in WrestleMania, and for those that are not on the card, they can wrestle on SmackDown. That's
Yeah.
my opinion about that. But the entrance was that vintage like screen. I forgot what you call it, but
That
they had
the
the
filter,
the
yeah.
filter, and they had the mariachi band playing in the aisle, and El Grande Americano comes out, and it's funny because Alicia Taylor had coined him from the Gulf of America, but they already changed that to Gulf of Mexico. And Cole on commentary, I think Alicia Taylor didn't get the memo. He had to cover her, you know what I mean, on
Yeah.
that regard. By the way, kudos to Alicia Taylor for doing the entire WrestleMania 41 event. They gave her the night off last night on as we're taping on a Tuesday. You know, kudos to her for doing the damn thing on the ring announcer side of it. But of course, Ray Phoenix, can you imagine? Think about this. Last year, if I would have told you, oh yeah, the Lucha Bros are going to be on WrestleMania in singles matches, would you believe me?
Nope. And they've only been in AEW. They've only been in WWE for like 20 minutes. And they both got Mania matches.
Ray Phoenix debuted 2 weeks ago.
Yep. Penta like what, 6 weeks ago maybe?
Yeah,
Maybe.
because he was it was like the second or third week when they were on Netflix.
Yeah.
And I mean, what? They're on WrestleMania.
Thank you, Tony. Get that chant going.
Yeah, and I mean the match. First of all, the freaking 450 that El Grande Americano did on
Didn't know he
Ray.
even had it in him. Didn't know he had it in him.
I'm like, man. And of course, there's that little, they had he's a heel. He had to put the metal plate in his head. And when Ray Phoenix walked the rope and kicked him and sold that thing like $1 million.
Hmm.
And of course, this match was 7 minutes 55 seconds. Again, because of the last minute substitution is why again these replacement matches, and we'll get to the one on night two, were a little bit short, but
I do want
nonetheless,
to point out that in this match, at the end, the Kingo came to help. So I think we're setting up a beef there. If you don't know
yeah.
who the Kingo is, use
Well,
your Googles
oh
because
yeah.
that is a bad man. That is a
By
very
the way, and I forgot to mention at the beginning of the match, El Grande Americano approached
yep,
Vikingo, who was at ringside, and he hit him with a kick. So I'm thinking,
yep.
what I think's going to happen, and I know this is going to get a lot of heat, being that they're going to be in Southern California. I guarantee you, and you can mark this, bet your bottom dollar, El Grande Americano was going to be on that Worlds Collide card.
He might mess around and get the champ. We'll get there. But yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
So we'll see that, but he did. But El Grande did win the match, and like to your point, Vikingo did come in and help him. He did help him, help get him up and everything. So we'll
Mhm.
see. All right, so the co-main event of night one was for the WWE Women's Championship, where the champion Tiffany Stratton defended against Charlotte Flair. All right, so first of all, Tiffany's entrance where
I
she was
loved it.
the Barbie when she was in the Barbie doll box and they had the two screens because if you weren't really paying attention you would think like which one is the real one, and it was the one in the middle when she opened the door, and I'm just like, okay, that's cool, because to me I feel that they said brought to you by Mattel. I'm like, oh, this is what they're gonna do. I believe they're gonna make some Tiffy
It
Barbie
built, yep,
dolls.
they built the full
Mm-hmm.
dream house. I don't know if you saw it on TV. They were like, the whole thing was stacked and looked like the
Mm-hmm.
Barbie dream house from like when I was a kid.
Right. And it's crazy because to me, I'm one of those people where I'm just like, okay, where are they gonna go with this? But I'm thinking, okay, they're gonna make some money off of this. And of course, Charlotte comes out and I mean, man, as only she can look. I loved her robe, by the way.
Yeah.
I loved her robe, and she had the pyro going, and she's just walking down that ramp looking like a champion as she is. And it was a little stiff. It
A
was a little
little.
it was a little stiff. I think at one point she said, "Get up, bitch." I'm like, man. I mean, I don't know if you guys couldn't clearly hear it from where you were, but being able to pick that up from the microphones, I'm like, oh my God, and they were laying them in. But Tiffany, I think, you know what, to me, I thought this brought out a toughness in Tiffany Stratton. What were your thoughts on the match?
I gotta be honest, probably y'all know I love Charlotte. Like I just told you how much I met her and all of the things. It was probably my worst match of the night. I don't think they had the chemistry. It didn't look like they were like working together during the match. It kind of just looked like they were just kind of beating up each other. Um, it was it had potential. But again, like I don't think they had that true chemistry because I feel
No.
like they don't actually like each other in real life. I don't know that for a fact. I don't know. But it just from the crowd standpoint, it just was really weird. Um, so hopefully, I don't know, like if they'll run it back, I don't think they will at this point. So I'm kind of curious to what is next for Charlotte, what is next for Tiffany.
Yeah, because I mean, it seemed like they were trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
Now, I'm
during the
sure
match.
whoever agented the match, right?
Hmm.
I don't want to take any guesses on who it was that was the agent for the match, but I'm sure there was instruction. I'm sure there was some type of direction.
And I'm sure it
But
went out the window.
yeah, the minute because I think Tiffany kind of she went low. I mean, she went very low. You know what I mean? And I get it. Sometimes you want to add fuel to the fire. But I mean,
Mhm.
my God, I mean, she went to a place where I'm just like, oh man,
Yeah.
So, and you figure Charlotte had just bared her soul to the world on a Sherry Shepherd. Was it Sherry Shepherd
Yep.
talking about her divorce, and now that she's being her, this is her third divorce, and it's very tough if you've been in those situations. It's very tough to talk about,
I'm sure.
especially when you had a parent that has been divorced as many times, and of course, her being a child of divorce.
Hmm.
And you're talking to a child of divorce here. You know what I mean? So I get it. So sometimes when you hit that nerve, you know, the real human, and I think when she said that comment about that's why Kyrus is in my DMs, I think that was to me, and I'm not taking sides, but I think this may have been a defense mechanism to kind of
Absolutely.
add something. And then she later admitted that it wasn't true.
Hmm.
And Kaiser was like, it wasn't me. He let that be known quick. He's like, no, 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 that wasn't me. That wasn't me at all. You're not gonna bring me to the Maury Povich show and talk about the lie detector said he was telling the truth. Where's Maury Povich? Now that would have been funny. Do you imagine if they would have done a Maury Povich? Now see, this is if they would have foresaw the future, I guarantee they would have done something like that. That would have been hilarious. But nonetheless, like I did predict on the show last week with Krista that Tiffany Stratton would retain the championship because to me, I didn't really feel at this point because I think they're really trying to build the next group of stars as you're clearly seeing now,
Hmm.
especially with the women. As we saw on Raw last night, we'll get to that a little later. But nonetheless, to tie bow on this match, what do you think's next for Tiffany?
I don't know. I don't even have a guess at this point. Um, I guess we'll find out Friday.
That's only one place to find out Friday, and that's on the USA Network on Friday Night SmackDown. And of course, the main event for was the triple threat match. And to me, let's call it for what it is. It was the winner takes Paul Heyman home.
Basically.
Seth Rollins, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns. Seth Rollins had an awesome entrance. He had this really big Missy Elliott type black like thing. He had a flamethrower doing the whole thing. Lights go out. He's in this whole like all white with the shades on, with the spotlight all on him. Kind of how he was doing the Monday Night Messiah many years ago.
Hmm?
So he comes down the aisle. Then of course, because again, I didn't think that Punk was going to come out last. I had no idea. So Roman comes out second, and then this is where I, as a longtime CM Punk fan, literally cried in my living room. They did a vignette, and it was a piano version of "This Fire Burns" by Killswitch Engage, and he was talking about "Don't let the tattoos fool you." It was a promo he did in 2006. He's like, "I'm straight edge." He's like, "I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. My addiction is wrestling." And when you hear that guitar riff, and it was doing all those highlights,
Hmm.
and when they did the it's clobbering time and they did all these shots of him throwing the fist and you see him walking down the aisle at WrestleMania 28 when he was
Hmm.
wrestling Jericho, and I'm just like losing my shit. And I later on saw a video from the stadium where the fans, you all, were singing "This Fire Burns," and I'm just like, only professional wrestling can do this, can
Hmm.
bring this type of emotion out of people. I'm getting, my God, I'm doing the Dwayne Johnson thing, but I'm getting goosebumps. I know this is real. It's real because for all the transgressions that Punk went through when he left on that Monday in the last Monday of January 2014, you figure 10 months later on Thanksgiving, doing that very surprising podcast with Colt Cabana on the Art of Wrestling and basically told his story. And you may not like the delivery. And one thing I love about Punk, you may not like the delivery, but he's going to tell the truth.
Hmm.
And I think that may have pissed WWE off at that time. Let everyone know I didn't quit, I got fired. And of course, he signed with the UFC a month later. He fought, was it September of 2016? He fought Mickey Gall and he got subbed. And he was really satisfied with that. And then he fought 2 years later. I think this guy was Mike Johnson, I think he fought. And he lost that fight and went the distance and he fought in Chicago. And, he was just doing movies, all these
Hmm.
other things. He gets hired by Fox to do that backstage show with Renee Young, Booker T, Paige, and Christian. Then 2 years later, he signs with AEW. Everything's going great. What was called the first dance, whatever it was called at the United Center, the worst kept secret in wrestling. He signed with AEW. I'm thinking, oh, this is great, awesome. He wins the title a year later, and all of a sudden you're hearing these chirpings about things that are happening. And it leads to Brawl Out, where Punk just went completely nuclear at that scrum, and he was calling out people that were in the wrestling media, and rightfully so, of spreading false narratives about Punk that absolutely wasn't true, or being fed stuff from people that were executive vice presidents. And when he said it was embarrassing, that was embarrassing. When you're holding a title, an officer title, such as an executive vice president, and you're going to the wrestling media and you're telling them stuff that may not be true and vilifying this man. And then what was it, a year later, they come out with this show Collision to kind of do a soft, roster split. And Punk didn't think it was a good idea. Tony Khan didn't want to let him go. Then the whole thing with Jack Perry happened. When he was telling, because Jack Perry was cussing out everybody about the glass. And next thing you know, Punk had to talk to him because they told Punk. And he said, "Do you want me to handle it or not?" And that's what it led to the thing in England. And the rest is history. He gets that phone call from Nick Khan. Punk is back. And for those that said he was this or he was that, wanted to work with him. Drew
Hmm.
McIntyre, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, who's been very vocal about Punk. And I said it last week on the show. If he was such a piece of shit, why are you working with him? So that just lets me know that everything is all good in WWE. I did that timeline for a reason about Punk's journey, was because as a longtime fan of his and kind of knowing what it's like to be misunderstood sometimes, that hits home. Maybe it's the Scorpio thing. Punk and I we're actually 12 days apart, believe it or not. He was born 12 days before me. So it's that dynamic that I think why I connect with him so much. And to see him walk down that ramp with Living Color playing Cult of Personality and taking that walk of walks in the main event of WrestleMania, I'll just say this, ladies and gentlemen, fight for your fucking dreams and your fucking dreams will fight for you. I'm sorry I went on a tangent, man, but that really, really meant a lot to me. But the match itself, let's get to it. What were your thoughts in that stadium, as all of these elements were just happening with all three of these big personalities? Talk about the match for a second.
Um, I wanted Seth to win. I had a feeling that Seth was really the guy. So Seth last week, I believe, made some comment about being best for business or whatever. So I kind of figured it out then.
Hmm.
So when Heyman went to grab the chair, I was like, "It's going to Seth." And like my people were texting, they're like, "No, no." I was like, "Let it play out. Let it play out." It in the Mania night one ended on such a high note,
Hmm.
that I had such high expectations for night two. We'll get there in a second. But like night one was, I don't think the card was stacked appropriately.
No.
However, the way that night one ended made up for night one. And I'm not saying that night one was terrible. So like don't take that what I'm saying. I'm saying that the card was not appropriately stacked, but when you look at how night one ended, it made up for it. Don't you
100%.
know what I mean?
Right.
Which I know again sounds weird. I'm not saying anything was wrong with it, but like just if you know, you know, right? Like I'm not gonna go into it, like whatever, it's fine. But yes. And I had very high expectations for night two.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. But highlight of the match for me was in Punk and Roman hit the Doomsday Device on Seth, which I thought was a nice homage to the Legion of Doom. And to your point, when Heyman slid in the chair, I said, I know where this is going.
Hmm.
I said it's going to go to Punk, Roman, and then Seth, and that's exactly how it happened. And he hit the nut shot on Punk, and he was like, "Go get him, go get Seth," and he did the
Take him
same
out.
thing. He did the same thing. Somebody made a really good point about Heyman, about how he had to do that to Punk, but he wanted to do that to Roman
Hmm.
because of how Roman treated him all those years in the bloodline. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So Seth Rollins hit him with that chair, push Punk out of the ring, hit the curb stomp, 1, 2, 3. Seth Rollins wins the main event of WrestleMania. And man, there's a video that's on Instagram, on Twitter too, where they had it was Punk in the ring. He kissed the ring, and he just said, "I fucking did it." That man, unbelievable. So we'll tie a bow on night number one. We're gonna hit up night number two. And let me just say, this was by far the best match on night two
Easily.
for the Women's
Easily.
World Championship triple threat match. Io Sky defending against Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. First and foremost, Bianca Belair. You know, I get emotional talking about her because having spent time with her, Wheel of Fortune, and just how much of a, and then interviewing her 2 years ago, she is just a genuine soul. She really, really is. And she made that robe, that rose robe, and had her stepdaughter out there in that entrance. Unbelievable. And Io Sky, coming down, and Rhea Ripley had that little crown on her head and that type of thing. This match, you could put this match in any promotion, and it would be the best match on the card.
Easily.
I don't care if it's Stardom. I don't care if it's New Japan. I don't care if it's AEW, Ring of Honor, Impact with TNA, whatever it is. Any promotion around this globe, you put that match on there, it'll be the best match on the card, hands down. And I don't know what's going on with fans and why they're booing Bianca Belair. I don't understand. I don't get it. If it's the fans trying to be smart marks, then just like you played yourself. She's the baby face, and she did in her character did nothing wrong. So if you're saying, "Oh, we're tired of the same old," then you know what though? Then you're not a real fan. I think the problem is that fans know a little too much. And now the WWE is about to put out this series on Netflix about, it's I forgot the name of it, but they're talking about what goes on in the writers' room. I said, dog, I said they might be opening a can of worms they might not be ready for. Because now you're gonna have fans, well, they should do this or they should do that. And it's just like there should be a dictator. Now, granted, there have been instances where the fan was right. WrestleMania 30 with Daniel Bryan. Last year with Cody Rhodes. And we'll get to the part of that a little later, and we'll talk about that. But because I have, oh, and speaking of which, that said individual is actually on Pat McAfee's show as we're recording this right now, and we'll talk about that later. But I just felt as though that the fan was right last year. The fan was right, but neither here nor there. This triple threat match, I don't want to
Well,
say I don't even want to say exceeded expectations. I just felt as though it was the damn best match on the card,
agreed.
and the right person won.
Agreed.
Io Sky did retain the Women's World Championship, cementing her legacy in WWE. Your thoughts on that?
Best match of the card, easily. Those ladies, they they should have been the main event. Sorry.
Oh yeah, based on what how everything played out, absolutely, absolutely. All right. So next we have a Sin City street fight. Um, Drew McIntyre faced Damian Priest. Priest coming out with the guitarist from Slayer, which I thought was cool. And to me, a street fight,
Should be in the
I
streets.
well, not only that, I don't even want to say the street. I'm talking about I wouldn't have worn gear to the ring.
It's not, it
If
wasn't a
this is
street fight. It was
it
just, you
was
could
it
have
was
just said it was a no DQ.
a hardcore match or whatever.
Agreed. And
Yeah,
it was okay match. The match was cool. Like,
the table spot was the highlight.
yeah, it was
You know what I
okay.
mean? And they got through it, and like they went 13 minutes 55 seconds, and I expected Drew to win. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It was just like, okay, what else is new? So, and we'll see what happens, from there.
Mhm.
But this next match, man, fatal four-way match for the Intercontinental
Second match of the
Championship.
night.
Yeah, Braun Breaker defended against Finn Balor, Penta, and Dominic Mysterio. Kudos to Dominic Mysterio for wearing Rey Mysterio Sr.'s mask. The late Rey Mysterio Sr. just passed away recently, and nice touch, to his family heritage, family lineage. And I predicted the win of the match and who was going to get pinned
Mhm.
because it was a much broader story to be told going forward. But I got to tell you, it was just like everything fit, like match wise, like everything was just flowing well. There was no down point in the match.
There was no low point in this match.
No, it wasn't at all. And the thing was is that the fans just got behind Dirty Dom.
Immediately.
I mean, maybe because they were all thinking it was going to happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But of course, Dom hits the 619 on Braun Breaker, and I think Finn breaks up the pin or whatever it was, or he was going for the splash, and
Mhm.
Finn pushed him down. Finn does the coup de grace, tries to pin Breaker, but then of course Dirty Dom hits him with the frog splash, pins him 1, 2, 3. Dom's the new Intercontinental Champion, and that place erupted. Talk about that.
I love that Dom came back at the end. Dom was halfway
Hmm.
up the ramp and was like, "Nope, going back."
Hmm.
I loved it. It was a great ending. I look forward to whatever Dom does next, but I loved it. And I think and it's great too that no one in this match looked weak.
No,
That makes sense
nobody,
either. It was just a
nobody.
great overall match. Braun Breaker did a great job on his run. He didn't look weak. It was just a good, it was a nice bow on WrestleMania. And like I said, it was probably my second favorite match of the night. Honestly, I would say second favorite match of the night. And probably like second match of like the car of like both nights. It was a really, really good match. It was very, very well thought out.
Yeah. I said last week, I was telling Krista, I was like, I think that match was going to steal the weekend.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, I think the women
Yeah.
and Punk, Seth, and Roman, that's what everyone's talking about match wise. And
Yeah.
I think this one right here, and of course, LA Knight and Jacob Fatu. But the next match was an open challenge match. Randy Orton. And I was watching this at a friend because Saturday night I was watching it alone, and Sunday I watched it with some friends. I said because I honestly I was thinking like last week I was just throwing out names or whatever, but Sunday something hit me. I said, "What if it's Joe Hendry?"
Mhm.
And it was cool because they had the camera panned to the aisle,
Mhm.
and that door opened,
Set up.
and he
Yeah.
was just say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. I believe in Joe Hendry. We talked to London and Paris and Tokyo, America, Scotland and Canada and Mexico. Oh my God. First of all, can you imagine working for another promotion and someone that you got somebody from WWE telling you, hey, by the way, we're gonna have a substitution and you're gonna be wrestling Randy Orton.
He's
at
having a hell of a
WrestleMania.
year. I mean, he was in the Rumble. He was the only outsider at WWE World signing.
I mean,
It's great. I loved it. It was great. It did its job. He didn't look weak. It was perfect.
yeah, everybody was talking about how, oh, he got buried. I said, let me explain something to you.
Once again, non-fans.
He, when you're talking about getting the rub, let me explain something. Number one, you get to wear your brand's world championship at Wrestle freaking Mania, where millions of eyes around the world are going to be on you. You're taking down that. You take because dude, I don't know if you saw him, but he literally had to take that in.
Hmm.
Hearing your theme song that you wrote, and you're in front of 61,000 fans. They're singing his song. The pop was huge. So the match went 3 minutes and 10 seconds. First of all, he got some offense in, first of all.
Yeah, yeah.
Randy Orton actually sold for it because I don't know if you saw his face. He was
Wait a
like,
minute.
done. He was like,
Yeah.
wait, yeah. And of course, he does the turnaround thing. And of course, Orton hits him with the RKO, which I thought was hilarious. That was funny. And I don't know if you ever noticed, like when a wrestler pats you on the chest,
Hmm.
it's more or less saying, good match. You know what I mean? Good, good one. And Joe Hendry was on I forgot, I think it was on Busted Open. And he was talking about how John Cena has spoke to him at the Rumble. And he told him, he said, just go out there and do exactly what they tell you to do.
Yeah, I saw
Don't do
that clip
Yeah.
yesterday. Yeah.
He said, don't do anything extra, don't do anything more. He said, because then you're overdoing it, and then that's not cool.
Hmm.
Go out there, do your thing, and get out. And then he did the same thing at Mania, and he saw John Cena again and CM Punk, and they told him the exact same thing. So I would imagine at some point Joe Hendry's going to be in the WWE, but we got to give flowers though to AJ Francis because he was the one that got that feud going last year in TNA. So we gotta show love to AJ Francis, and I hope someday AJ can go back to WWE as well. But we'll see what happens from there. But the next match, Logan Paul against AJ Styles. This was a match I really now again I like AJ. Not a fan of the other guy for obvious reasons. Like I don't really again I don't I don't necessarily dislike or hate people. Well, besides somebody else at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. We're gonna talk about that right now. But sorry. But I don't know, there's just something there where I just can't message you. I don't know. If I'm wrong for thinking of feeling that way, I'm sorry, but I'm just not really a fan. But the match was good. The match was good. Karrion Cross comes out there and tries to stop my man from giving Logan Paul the brass knucks. And yeah, you don't look interested in this match at all. And of course, Logan Paul hits him with his finisher. 1, 2, 3. Logan Paul wins the match. How was the vibe in the stadium during this match?
Kind of like how I am right now. Time to take a break. Time to like,
Yeah,
yeah. No one cared.
yeah. Now the co-main event for night two was for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships, where the champions Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez faced Lyra Valkyria. And the day before, or was it? Yeah, it was during WrestleMania.
Today, SmackDown, yeah.
Yeah, she got attacked.
Hmm.
Bailey got attacked rather, and they was like, "Well, you got to find a new partner." And I'm just like, "They're really gonna take Bailey off the card
Again, yeah.
for the returning Becky Lynch?"
And we all knew it was Becky. We all knew that.
Right, we all knew. And the match went 8 minutes 40 seconds. Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria did become the new WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. We'll talk about that. What happened on Raw in a little bit. But what were your thoughts on? I guess what was the vibe in the crowd? For that match.
We knew what it was, so it was okay. Yeah, it was like because you knew that Becky and Lyra were going to win or whatever. So like,
Right. And I kind of had a feeling they were setting up that to set up what happened on Raw, but we'll get to that.
absolutely, absolutely.
Right. And of course, the main event was John Cena challenging Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Championship. This match goes 21 minutes, 40 seconds. John Cena comes out, all black, everything. The just white letters, John Cena. That's it. He didn't want any colorful, nothing. And of course, Cody Rhodes comes out. And again, this is where it's like the casuals or whatever, they're booing Cody Rhodes. I'm just like, what the hell?
They turned on that man quickly.
And I'm just like, why? Like, people just don't like good guys. Like people, oh, I don't like the kissing babies and all that. I'm like, okay. If everybody was a heel, then why would we watch wrestling?
Right.
If everyone was a fucking heel, what's the purpose of even watching?
Agreed.
You need contrast. Protagonist, antagonist. You need that in stories. But the match was decent. You know what I mean? No fault of Cody. I mean, of course, the
I knew what they
promo.
were doing. They were trying. I mean, John Cena said he's gonna come back in Road Wrestling. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I knew when John
Right.
Cena was like basically giving you the Macho Man special, where it was like the five moves and that was it. Um, I don't think anyone thought Cody was winning this too, to be honest.
No,
I don't we all knew he was losing to Cena. So like it was just this match was okay, but like the ending fell. Why did Travis Scott get a full entrance mid-match?
that was weird.
We were also confused in the stands, like, what is happening right now? So let me get this straight. The Rock sends 120-pound Travis Scott to be your muscle right now. That's so then the match ended and we're waiting. I got my phone on the Jumbotron so I can record when if you smell hits, and it never hit. We were all, the entire stadium was literally staring, waiting for that moment to the point where like it got awkward. And they were all like, oh, this is the end. We should leave now. All right. You know what I mean? Like, just was very like setting up the
Anticlimactic.
left night one on such a high.
I know you thought that it would end on the same or even higher, and no. And apparently, and like I said, as we're recording, Dwayne Johnson is on Pat McAfee's show as we're speaking. I have my volume down right now. I'll listen back, a little later, but I think he might be in Maui or Hawaii, wherever he is. I don't know, but it was just very, very weird that we didn't see him at all since Elimination Chamber. We didn't see him, no appearances, nothing. Because it doesn't make sense. He did all of that, I want your soul, Cody, and he ingratiated himself in his storyline and bailed.
Yeah.
So we can't blame Cody fans or what they were doing last, or he called them the Cody crybabies for. And I had this debate with my nephew fairly recently. He was like, "You Cody fans shouldn't have blah, 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 blah. You guys ruined the main event." I said, "No." I said he ingratiated himself in that situation last year. Hunter said that WrestleMania 40, I think, was pretty much done like by October 2023.
hmm
The card was like the majority of the card was already finished, barring any injuries or anything like that. So January comes around, The Rock decides to come back and bring himself into the mix. And I felt that fans saw through that. Cody wins the Rumble, and his story was the WWE Championship.
hmm
So you want me to take a back seat? You know what I'm saying?
hmm
And for people that was calling Punk, whatever, when Punk made that comment in the pipe bomb, but the fact that Dwayne's in the main event of WrestleMania and I'm not makes me sick. Hey man, listen, I wish Cody would have gone on the mic and said something.
Yeah.
But the fans spoke. The consumer is always right most of the time. So, but at the end, like I said, we didn't get the Rock's return, and the match ends because Cody was getting ready to hit him in the head with the belt. John Cena begged and pleaded. He gave him the kick to the groin. Cody did get the crossroads on Travis Scott.
Hmm.
I thought he should have given him a much bigger receipt, but I'm pretty sure he was just let that one slide. But because I'm pretty sure if Cody really wanted to, he could have taken some serious liberties with him.
Yeah, for sure.
But and John Cena wins the match. He didn't finish with a wrestling hold or nothing. He just after the belt to the head,
Hmm.
1, 2, 3, and that was it. So that's how we closed out WrestleMania. And mm, that was just like it. Just I mean, our vibe right now is just kind of like,
Yeah, that's pretty much how it was in the stadium too. Like, yeah, I was
yeah,
very much looking forward to Raw.
yeah. I mean, they're showing Travis Scott. They're even showing they're showing the highlights of Cena winning the match, and The Rock is talking about it. But I mean, I don't know. But notes from last night's as we're this past Monday's Raw. Obviously Cena comes out. He's talking about how he has was it 27 more dates left this year.
Not matches, but dates. He
But
wants to make it
dates.
very clear,
He made it very, very clear. He said, I don't, he said, you guys say I can't wrestle. I don't have to.
right?
And of course, he's running down the crowd and they were chanting, "We are sorry." And he turned it back on. He said, "No, what they're chanting, guys, is we aren't sorry." And they were talking about how they were booing Cody Rhodes. He's like, "How the hell are you going to boo a guy that was, that was the guy here, and all of a sudden you want to boo him now?" And he was putting it right back in their face. He said, You guys are gonna understand what a functional relationship is all about." I think that's a sub towards Nikki Bella. That's not the
Yeah.
hit nor there. And he's talking about get your cameras out because this is the last real champion, and all you saw was Randy Orton slither under that ring and RKO out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. What were your thoughts on that segment?
I loved it. It makes sense because Backlash is in his hometown.
Right.
So yeah, for sure. I'm here for it. I would love to see it. I don't know how that match is gonna go, so I look forward to seeing how this kind of plays out.
Yeah, I don't see Randy winning that match per se, but I mean the fact that he gets to face Cena in his last run in his hometown
Yeah.
makes all total sense in the world. So that was that. Of course, we had the a rematch from WrestleMania. It was the women's tag team championships where the champions and women's intercontinental champion Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch faced the former champions Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan. And
Again, we all saw how this was gonna end. Just like we
mhm,
saw the night before match. We all knew how this was gonna end. We all knew that Lyra was gonna eat a pin and then Becky would turn on her, and here we go. However, I will say it makes sense for Lyra though, because every good face needs a good heel, and she has not
mhm,
had a good heel. So this might
no.
be her make or break. So this might be setting up something for Lyra, so which I'm okay with. We'll see how it plays out, but every good face needs a good heel, and she has not had a good heel. So hopefully this works out in her favor. We'll go from there. But yeah,
I mean, I agree, and we all saw the turn coming. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? And we all definitely all saw it coming. Of course, there was Penta challenging Dirty Dom for the Intercontinental Championship. And who shows up again? JD McDonough back from injury. And he interfered in the match. And of course, Dominic Mysterio retains the IC title. Gunther comes out. Oh my God. You want to talk about crash out? Because of course, Michael Cole said something like, "You weren't, I wasn't the one that tapped out." And of course, he shoves Pat McAfee. He's choking out Michael Cole. Pat McAfee attacks Gunther, and
mhm,
Gunther freaking chokes Pat McAfee. Pat McAfee, the boys from McAfee's show, like hopped the railing, and it was
yeah.
about to face Gunther. It was crazy. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh my God. So they're about to turn Gunther into like a monster. What were your thoughts on that segment?
It makes sense. Um, it Gunther needs something to do, something lightweight to do. I mean, at the end of the day, he did hold that title for a long time. He needs something like I said, something lightweight to do. So sure, why not?
I mean, obviously we had Jey Uso come out and thank the fans and everything, and Sami Zayn comes out. Now I don't know about you, maybe it's crazy wrestler brain, but I legit thought that Sami Zayn was gonna hit the boom on him, and I thought he was gonna turn. I kid you not. I'm waiting for this shit to happen. I'm like, come on, he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. And nope, he didn't do it. And then Jimmy comes out and they all
Yeah.
celebrating and yeeting and all that. I'm like, okay, cool. Surprisingly enough, of course, we had Io Sky come out
Hmm.
and, talk about WrestleMania. And then Stephanie Bakir, the NXT Women's Champion, comes out. They have a match.
I liked it. It was, I mean, that match, I knew someone was going to interfere, but before we get to the like, it was a good match. I loved
Yeah,
it.
I liked it. I enjoyed the match. And out of the blue, who shows up? The Prodigy. And I'm like, oh.
Hmm.
And then who else shows up? Julia. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh man, here we go. I think at some point Stephanie's going to drop the title to somebody, possibly Jada Parker or someone down there, or Lola Vice, whoever it is, and let those girls have it. And Julia and Stephanie are going to come up to the main roster, and of course,
Roxy.
Roxy's going to come up as well. I think those are going to be the call ups because they're ready. They're ready
Yeah,
now.
for
So
sure.
absolutely. So that adds another staple into the women's division and give the mid card something to do. You know what I mean? That could
Hmm.
they it's important. Then of course the last segment was of course Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman in the ring. And before Seth Rollins could even say his name, and him and Punk are just going at it, going at it, going at it. Of course, Punk gets his hands on Heyman. Seth goes at Punk again. Roman Reigns comes out and he's doing the thing. He's beating up on Seth and he gives a Superman punch on Paul Heyman. He goes to go for a spear. Someone in a black hoodie comes out and spears Roman. And who was it? Braun Breaker. Now, for clarity, I don't know if you remember this episode from NXT back in October 2023.
Yep, I saw it this morning.
They planted seeds a year and a half ago for this to happen.
Long-term storytelling, guys.
And I'll say this. I don't know if you remember, because this is in WCW in 1991, 1992. There was a faction headed up by Paulie Dangerously, aka Paul Heyman, called the Dangerous Alliance.
Yep.
It was Ravishing Rick Rude, Beautiful Bobby Eaton, the Living Legend Larry Zbyszko, Stunning Steve Austin, Arn Anderson, and Medusa.
Hmm.
I can totally see a Dangerous Alliance happening this time around. Your thoughts?
Same. That's where my mind went immediately. Everyone's saying Evolution or Revolution 2.0, and I was like, no, I think it's Dangerous Alliance. But again, real fans, history.
Absolutely, because it's crazy because I remember when Rick Rude debuted at Halloween Havoc '91. I think he was wrestling the Z Man, and he was the WCW Halloween Phantom. He was under a mask, and I think Jesse Ventura had made a comment that I think the Halloween Phantom saw the Twins in the World Series today. Now you know the Minnesota Twins. Rick Rude is from Minnesota, so
Hmm.
he was kind of giving hints. You know what I mean? And you saw the forearm, and you saw he did the Rude Awakening. And then later in the night, Medusa and Paul Lee come out and they saying, the Halloween Phantom ravishing Rick Rude. He unveiled himself, and his first order of business was going after Sting. And then they started adding members and adding members. And then the goal was to have superstars that may have been in the past a little bit, the current star, which was Rick Rude, and the future star of tomorrow, which was Steve Austin, which they were coining the superstar of the night wrestler of the '90s back in WCW. They were saying that, not knowing what the future was going to hold, of course.
Right.
But but stunning Steve Austin with the long blonde locks was in the Dangerous Alliance, and they had their blow up match. I think their big match was Wrestle War '92 in Jacksonville. It was the War Games Sting Squadron, which consisted of Sting, Nikita Koloff, Barry Windham, Ricky Steamboat, and Dustin Rhodes. Damn, phew, my God. I watched that with my grandmother. She ordered that pay-per-view for me. And they faced the Dangerous Alliance. That was if you guys haven't seen it, go on Peacock, go on that WCW library, check out Wrestle War 92 because that was one of the best war games I've ever seen. But it really, really goes to show you, like I said, just so you think that because everybody was complaining, even me, about Sunday night. We were all like, yo, what the hell?
Hmm.
And then Monday night, the mood is about to change. So to kind of wrap a bow on WrestleMania weekend, What what were your, I guess, your thoughts, you figure, from when you got there up until last night, on what you think the direction of the company is going to be going forward?
I'm gonna be a fan. I don't know. I'm just gonna look forward to writing it out.
They had just announced on WrestleMania that, of course, SummerSlam, the tickets are going to be going on sale May the 2nd. So
Mhm.
make sure you, if you haven't done so already, just go to WWE.com and you can go to their ticket area, whatever, and you can register for pre-sale. Now, whether I get media credentials or not, I'm going to be there. I'm going to go and enjoy 2 days of SummerSlam. So it should be awesome. Gabby, as always, where can they find you and your podcast on all social media?
You can find me at HiiGabrielle. So hi Gabrielle, and the lip gloss ladies are lip gloss and ladders on all social media.
Awesome. Well, I know you ladies had a great time out there. You guys sent the pictures. I thought that was
Will
just so
do.
awesome. You guys got to do that. And like I said, like, if you guys want a living single, perspective on wrestling, and like I said, that's one of my favorite shows, by the way, from back in the day. And like I said, they talk the intelligent conversations about pro wrestling. They really give really good opinions. I'm a fan of their show. I listen all the time. There was one episode where I literally had to stop and pause and pull over because I was laughing so hard. But they really give it to you. And like I said, I look forward for nothing but big, big things for their show, their platform in the coming months and all the rest of 2025 and beyond.
Perfect. Thank you.
Oh, no, no doubt, man. But I know you're tired. I know you got to get some rest. But like I said, as always, I thank you for all that you do for this platform and this show. And we'll definitely be talking soon.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that does it for this week's edition of the D-Lew podcast. Again, I want to thank Gabby for all that she continues to do, for the D-Lew podcast. Her contributions are top notch, and looking forward to some really, really big things, upcoming in 2025. This weekend, you can check me out at ECWA's Pretzelmania 7. Tickets are on sale now. You can go to ecwawrestling.com, and bell time is at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And you're going to see some nonstop pro wrestling action at ECWA. Subscribe. Subscribe to the D-Lew podcast on all platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music, and of course my YouTube channel. Make sure you hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. When you hit the bell, make sure you hit all so you get all notifications when there is new content on my YouTube channel. Also, social media. If you can hit up the D-Lew podcast on all platforms at the D-Lew podcast. My social media is at the real DT with the exception of Facebook, and it's Derrick T. Lewis official page. Hit up my Pro Wrestling Tee store if you haven't done so already. All the wrestling themed t-shirts. You can go to pwt.derricklewis.com. And of course, you can hit up the Derrick T. Lewis official merchandise store where you can get that Nike merch. The Nike collection is official. You can get the hats and the pullover fleece hoodies, dry fit tees. So again, you can go to shop.derricklewis.com. Well, I'm going to get out of here, guys. And as I always say, no matter what it is you do in life, always remember to make it count. See you next time.